Hello my dear friends and welcome to my channel. My name is Barbara and today we're going to be looking at Mercury in the 4th house. So this video is for you if you do have this placement. If you're a cross watcher, welcome as well. Mercury deals with our communication, it deals with our thoughts, it deals with how we communicate our thoughts. It can also deal with our intelligence. The 4th house deals with all things with the home, with the mother most of the time. If it's not the mother, it's going to be whoever was the dominant feminine role in your life. The 4th house is ruled by the sign of Cancer, but I am here to tell you guys that Mercury in the 4th house isn't necessarily going to be the same thing as having Mercury in the sign of Cancer. Keep this in mind. The 4th house, whenever you have a planet in a house, it's the area of life that particular planet is ruling. So the 4th house not only deals with the mother, it deals with the home. It's going to be conjuncting your IC, so it's your home, it's your private life, it's how you grew up, it's going to affect how you guys are thinking. Really, really important to understand this. A lot of the time for people who do have this placement, it's really important to look at the mother or whoever was the dominant feminine role in your life. And this individual is going to teach you either how to communicate or their lack of. Most of the time, there's going to be a huge connection to the mother and the intellect is going to be connected to the mother. So how you think is going to probably be very similar to how your mother thought. Now, let's say you guys didn't have a good relationship. Maybe you're going to go in the opposite end and the opposite extreme of this. But regardless, your intellect and your communication is closely connected to the mother. If it's not going to be the mother, it's the dominant feminine role in your life. So really, really look at your IC, and whatever sign you have in here is going to kind of tell you what sort of upbringing that you guys had. This upbringing that you guys had affects your mental space and how you guys think and how you guys communicate and how you guys also communicate your thoughts. Now, for people who do have this placement, because the 4th house does deal with the home, it can also deal with real estate. It can deal with things like working from home. You guys are using your intellect to figure out a way to work from home. It can even be things like, depending on the rest of your natal chart, maybe even things like interior design, maybe purchasing a lot of properties, maybe working in like commercial real estate, maybe being a real estate agent yourselves. This is really the whole thing to understand when you have Mercury in the 4th house. Because the whole thing to understand also here is when you have Mercury in the 4th house, it's going to be opposing your 10th house. So whatever you have in your 10th house is going to be affected by the way that you guys are thinking, and it's going to be affected by the sort of upbringing that you guys had. So let's say you guys are maybe struggling in your career in the midheaven. Well, this is probably due to the fact that there's something going on with the home. So you guys are going to have to check out the IC, and then it's going to affect your mental space, the way that you think, maybe some sort of programming. Maybe there's some sort of outdated beliefs that were maybe passed down from your mother onto you, maybe from her mother and so on and so forth from the family, right? That's the whole thing here. Now, when you do have this placement, there's always positive aspects to it as well. There's going to be really close connection with the parents. You guys are really, really going to have an open communication with the parents. Now, also, it can go in the opposite of that as well. As much of an open communication you guys may have had, there could also be a lack of communication. So when you have this placement, there's always going to be things going on around the home, around the parents, around communicating with the parents. Maybe there's super open communication when you guys were growing up. You guys talked about everything openly. Now, obviously, it depends on the rest of your natal chart. Let's see if you guys have a lot of Aquarius and their Uranus is aspecting you guys a lot. Well, maybe you guys are very different. So maybe you guys are the black sheep and now you guys are struggling to communicate with your family, struggling to be open. And this could be a huge factor in affecting your career, your public image. Keep in mind this axis, the 4th house, 10th house, does deal with how we are in our private life. That's the IC. It's not only the type of home you grew up in, but it's also how you guys are in your private life. So there's the energy of that happening. And then there's also the energy of the 10th house, which is your public life. So there's always this energy going on with the 4th house, 10th house, the push-pull between private and public. Same thing with your Mercury in the 4th house. There could be things where it's like maybe when you guys are at home and you guys are in the comfort of your own home, you guys are very chatty because that's what Mercury is. Okay, maybe you guys are very open to communication and it's very easy for you guys to communicate. And then when you guys are out there in public, it could be challenging for you guys to communicate. Now, another thing that I will tell you guys as well, if you do have this placement, it is ruled by the sign of Cancer. So keep that in mind. It's an emotional sign. So you guys are probably going to be highly emotionally intelligent. You guys are basically going to be able to direct your emotions in a way to basically use this and channel this into your speech. So you guys could be very good at art, maybe even poetry. Obviously, it always depends on the rest of your natal chart, but that's the whole thing. You guys are very emotionally driven. Now, you don't want to fall into the shadow of that where it's kind of like you guys are reacting out of emotions. Your emotions are taking over your logic, because that's the thing, because this is what Mercury deals with. It deals with the mind. So maybe sometimes when you guys do have this placement, there could be more of a focus on the emotions, the emotional world, how I'm feeling about this, you know, and it's like The world that we're living in, you can't really make emotional reactions. I mean, obviously listen to your intuition always at all times. I'm here to tell you guys that, but you know what I'm saying is emotional reactions in the sense where it's like somebody says something to you, you can't go and punch them in the face, you know what I mean? So that's the whole thing. You don't want to be emotionally reactive. You don't want to react when you have emotions. That's the thing. It's like you can still feel them, absolutely. And it's like you can make decisions later on based on the logical aspect of things where it's like, hey, I'm communicating, I felt this, I didn't like this, so on and so forth. But you guys can quickly fall into the shadow where it's like you're making emotional based decisions. You know what I mean? That's the thing. There's always going to be like a push-pull between intuition and logic, emotions and logic. Always listen to your intuition, as I mentioned, but you don't want to be emotionally reactive in the sense where it's like it's to your detriment. You guys are always going to have this push-pull when you guys have Mercury in the 4th house. And keep in mind, whatever is basically driving your decisions is affected by the mother, okay, or whoever was the dominant feminine role in your life. Because the 4th house is feminine energy leaning. Now, because you guys are feminine energy leaning, doesn't matter whether you're male or female, okay, we all have these energies within us. Because of this, you guys are going to be very nurturing, even in terms of your speech. So when you guys are maybe looking at careers at 10th house, it could be careers that are very nurturing. It's going to basically be almost like a parent-like role that you guys are taking on. So things like you guys are speaking and you guys are helping nurture people in one way, shape, or form. It could be something where you guys are working and giving advice of some sort to people. It could even be customer service if you really think about it, because it's like you guys are helping people in one way, shape, or form. Maybe, you know, access, I don't know, their bank account or whatever it is, right? So it can manifest in a lot of different ways. Obviously, it depends on the rest of your natal chart. But the most important thing to understand here is you guys are going to be more feeling-based in terms of the way you guys think. You guys are going to be more intuitive. You guys could even be psychic. You guys could be interested in things like art, helping people. This is how you guys think. Okay, you guys think like this. There's a huge impact from the parents in one way, shape, or form. So when you guys do have this placement, you know, especially in terms of your career, the 10th house, because it is opposing your Mercury in this situation, depends what sign you have your Mercury in as well. That's important to mention. So let's say you have it in an earth sign, it's going to ground this more for you guys. So it's going to be a little bit easier to operate. Let's say you have a water Mercury. I mean, that's going to be double of that water energy. So you guys are going to really have to work on, again, you know, the way that you guys communicate things and not let that emotional world take over. Now, one more thing that I do want to mention before I wrap up this video is you guys could over intellectualize your feelings as well. That could also happen. It really depends what you have your Mercury in, but that could also happen when you have it in the 4th house, because it's like, again, you guys have these emotions, you guys have these feelings, but Mercury is the thinking energy, right? Mercury is all about, Mercury's ruled by Gemini and Virgo. So you guys can fall into an energy of over intellectualizing your feelings and emotions. And like, again, maybe you can even fall into the energy where you don't trust your intuition, you know, and the opposite of listening to your intuition, where it's like, you're just constantly being like, should I do this? Should I do that? Anytime you kind of fall into like that, should I, shouldn't I energy, I find that it's your ego versus your intuition. So that could be also another thing that takes place if you guys do have this placement. So I'm going to wrap up this video here. I do hope you guys enjoyed my video on Mercury in the 4th house. If you did, please do like, share, and subscribe, and I hope you all have a beautiful rest of the day.